Coming to us in the 302nd issue of Iron Man, after Stark Industries was falsely implicated in a scandal, society was under the impression that its CEO, Tony Stark, was exploiting the poor for his own end. This was at a time that the symbiote Venom was beginning to see himself as a guardian of the innocent. So, in retaliation, he tracked down Tony Stark and bit his head clean off. Now thankfully, this Tony Stark was actually a life model decoy that Tony was controlling remotely. Venom knew pretty quick where the real Tony was, and running for his life, Tony headed to his armory, knowing he couldn't possibly survive a direct encounter with the alien without his Iron Man suit. Tony managed to get to the armory and don his costume. Iron Man reasoned with him, telling him that Stark was innocent and that he will prove it in time. Venom agreed to back off, but he threatened to be back. Next up, we're talking about Molecule Man. Back in the OG Secret Wars story, the Beyonder had gathered a rather large handful of heroes and another rather large handful of villains, cobbled together a whole world and then put them all on it and said, defeat your enemies and I'll grant you a wish. In an attempt to rescue some of their captured fellow villains, Dr. Doom leads a blitz against the Avengers' base of operations, and the heroes are caught completely unawares. While they rescued their villainous comrades, Molecule Man basically used his powers to blow up the base of the Avengers. But extraordinarily, the heroes somehow survived that. This is when the newly created Titania chucks a giant object in their direction. But it's the Molecule Man who really takes the cake here. He uses his powers to raise up an entire mountain range, which he then hovers above the recovering heroes and drops it. In a testament to the strength of the Incredible Hulk, he was able to catch this mountain range and keep the rest of the heroes safe just long enough for them to find a way out. There have been numerous times where the Kingpin has thrown Spider-Man into the dirt. In The Amazing Spider-Man number 50 to 52 is the famous arc where Spider-Man gives up being a hero, and in his absence, the Kingpin jumps on the opportunity. Kingpin is much faster and much stronger than Spider-Man initially realizes, being actually composed of almost entirely muscle. He gets Peter with a good grab and a slam, and then out of left field, he uses a gas to knock out the Spider by the end of issue 51. Issue 52 sees Kingpin's goons putting Spider-Man and J. Jonah Jameson in an extremely supervillainy chamber. Sure enough, Spider-Man escapes, but even the final fight against Kingpin sees the villain get a bunch of good hits in, and he even escapes. DC Comics' Future's End depicts a world in which Brother Eye transformed most of the superheroes into basically cyborg bugs. Bruce Wayne creates a time machine to prevent Brother Eye's rule from ever occurring. Now, although Bruce was unable to travel back in time, the new Batman, Terry McGinnis, took his place. Unfortunately, Terry only traveled 30 years into the past, arriving 5 years too late. Terry teamed up with Tim Drake, who came out of retirement, to stop Brother Eye's technological apocalypse from ever happening. Unfortunately, Terry accidentally sped up the process though, and ultimately sacrificed himself in the battle with Brother Eye. Tim then took Terry's batsuit, traveling back in time 5 years, preventing the arrival of heroes from Earth 2. When Tim went back 35 years into the future, he was shocked to learn that nothing had basically changed at all. Humanity was still controlled by Brother Eye's technology. But next up, in the 6th issue Thanos Wins storyline, Thanos wins, ending like 90% of life in the universe, and it basically shows a future version of the Earth 616 reality where Thanos slays everything and rules at the end of time. Perhaps the worst fate fell onto the shoulders of the Incredible Hulk. In this incredibly dark future, Thanos keeps the Incredible Hulk in his dungeon. The Hulk is old, bearded, and basically begging to be laid to rest. It's also revealed that Steve Rogers was fed to the Hulk while he was still alive. The Hulk gets used momentarily to fight the incredibly powerful Silver Surfer before he reverts to Banner, begging for the Surfer to end his life, which happens a few panels later, but it's Thanos who delivers the blow. The 2000 Superman storyline, Superman Emperor Joker, follows the Joker after he obtains the ability to alter reality by tricking Mr. Mxyzptlk into granting him 99.99% of his reality warping abilities. He has Batman in an endless cycle of death and revival. Every day, Joker finds a new and inventive way to slay the Dark Knight, and every day, he brings him back to life to do it all again. At one point, Superman finds the remains of the Dark Knight and throws together a makeshift grave for his close friend, only for Batman to eventually burst through the freshly packed soil and reveal what the Joker has been doing to him, saying, quote, "I've reached the point where I've come to doubt my own existence." There are plenty of times where the Joker has one-upped superpowered do-gooders. Aquaman actually struggled with the Joker while underwater, so that seems perfect. In Legends of the DC Universe number 26 and 27, Joker heads to Atlantis to get away from Batman. Now, even though Aquaman knows what the Joker is up to, the Joker is still able to convince the people of Atlantis that he is the king of the surface world and that he can help them find a cure for their infected fish. This isn't really a physical defeat, but more so a psychological one. But okay, one last Joker point. In a Titans East special, the Joker teams up with Bizarro to help him kidnap some random famous singer. When the Teen Titans show up to save her, the Joker sends Bizarro after Starfire, Cyborg, and Wonder Girl, while he stays and holds the hostage, leaving only Kid Flash, Robin, Beast Boy, and Raven to fight the Joker alone. While Kid Flash is able to unarm the Joker, it turns out that it's actually an explosive which Wally tries to run to a safe location, but it goes off, incapacitating him. Then it's Raven's turn. Being as awesome as she is, she makes the Joker's worst nightmares appear before him in his own mind. Turns out that the Joker actually finds his nightmares to be absolutely hilarious. Once the Titans are able to use blue kryptonite to cripple Bizarro, the entire team is able to focus on the Joker and he does go down, but for a moment there, the Joker showed he could have possibly taken down at least half of the Teen Titans by himself. Marvel's Blood Hunt event has been really cool so far, and the superpowered team of villains known as the Blood Coven are certainly very scary. In issue number 1 of the event, when the sun is blocked out and the vampires begin attacking, the Avengers assemble on Impossible City, called there by Blade. Once they all arrive and Blade's truck is teleported in, the Avengers are suddenly met with the arrival of the 5 Blood Coven members, and they absolutely get wrecked. Unusual, one of the vampires, is able to feast on the Scarlet Witch's chaos magic, while Cruel is able to infiltrate Iron Man's new armor with these barbed wire-like tendrils that do some pretty serious damage to Tony himself. The Damascene is able to take down both Vision and Thor using their abilities that allow the vampire to cut through anything. Smoke Eater gets powered off of some collected souls and becomes strong enough to swing Captain Marvel around like a ragdoll. It's kind of hilarious. And then at the end of the fight, while the Avengers escape, T'Challa tries to hold them off until Bloodstorm punches straight through his chest. The Avengers got beat down really bad in this comic. And lastly, the symbiote god known as Null made one heck of an entrance when the King in Black event kicked off. Not only did Null unleash legions of dragons to make landfall and cover the world with his bonding symbiote matter in this issue, but he also reveals that he has several godlike celestials under his command as well. Now the losses begin with the Sentry, literally one of the most powerful heroes on the earth. The King in Black ripped the Sentry in two as if he were made of paper. Null also took control of all the symbiote matter that he had covered the globe with, quickly overtaking many of the heroes with his power before covering the whole world in a massive symbiote dome. On that one page, he took down Captain America, Daredevil, Luke Cage, Captain Marvel, Miss Marvel, Iron Fist, The Thing, Wolverine, and Jean Grey, not to mention most of the other heroes who were fighting in New York at the time, except for Spider-Man and Iron Man. His symbiotes also consumed Storm in the following pages, and the final hero to be beaten was Venom himself, who Null just ripped from Eddie Brock before throwing Eddie off of a building. Like I said, this was one heck of an opening move. But that's all I got. Thank you guys so much for watching today on Top 10 Nerd. I'm Adam Andrews. I will catch you all on the flippy flop, but until then though, be sure to stay safe and peace out, nerds.